Hello everyone, and welcome to another in my video tutorial series over some of the main applications of the Microsoft Office Suite, and specifically I'm going over Office 2016. Now in this video we will be going over once again some tools and fundamentals of using Microsoft Word 2016. Specifically, this lesson will be going over creating tables when we've composed some type of business letter, how to create envelopes or mailing labels. This is such great fundamentals that you need to have in the professional environment. At some point in your professional tenure out there in the workforce, you are more than likely going to need to prepare some type of business letter or form. Some of the contents of business letters can include such things as requests, such as a request for proposal, or request for someone to put a bid in onto a job. You might have things like notifications, whether it be to customers or internal. You might have customer or supervisor response that need to be created in a professional manner. Business inquiries, confirmations or recommendations, maybe even business or employee referrals. Definitely thank you letters as an example of when you have had a interview. It's always proper and great business etiquette to send a thank you letter to the HR department or the individual who granted you the interview. This isn't always done, but it should be done. Other things that might be included are an employment offer to a potential candidate. And there are lots more that can be used, but using our word processing software like Microsoft Word 2016, we can do this very efficiently, very effectively, and Microsoft builds in a lot of the things that we need to do for us. And this will just expedite the process and help us have time to do other duties. Some of the general activities that you'll do when you're creating these business letters, such as like making a letterhead in your business letter. Some of the things that you'll do are to, as I said, as you're going through this, you'll need to create and format a letterhead, and you typically with graphics like your business logo. This adds much more professionalism. You might need to change the formats going from one type of business letter to another. You should know how to insert a table into your letter, as well as once you've inserted that table, be able to format it. As I mentioned in a previous video, using bullet lists to create some emphasis and make it look more professional. And you should know how to address an envelope for a letter. And when I say this, you will need to have envelopes, and your printer should be able to accept envelopes for you to be able to print those automatically rather than printing labels, even though printing labels and putting them on an envelope is a standard business practice as well. But if you have the ability to have a multifunction printer where you can put in 500 envelopes and then create your business label and return address on there, and you can send them through all at once, you will have them ready for whenever something needs to go out. And this will definitely help, and you can do it yourself rather than paying a print company to do this for you. As you can see here, I do have a sample business letter, and you could simply use this as a template and give the information that needs to be in there when you go to create your business letter. And this is just a basic layout, and I've included some elements like having a hyperlink in there, making sure that you have your closure on your email, having the body, making sure you have your address of your organization, as well as the date that this letter is being created and who who this letter is going to. Make sure that you include your salutations. Obviously you wouldn't include salutation greetings unless that's what you want to put, but you should make sure that you have a salutation so that it's personalized to the individual. Now this is a basic business letter, but you need to add some things to make yours look a little bit more professional. As you can see here, I did a real quick sample letter of using my logo for Roland Martin Virtual Instruction. Created this letterhead that includes the logo, what the name of the company is, an address for it, including an email. This is a very modern one because you're including your email. Everyone has an email. If you shouldn't, if your business doesn't, they're free. It's time to get one. Having the date, and here I've used a tab indent over here to the 4-inch mark. Got the information of who this letter is intended for. Let's take a look at this business letter here, this template. And let's say, depending on the type of business letter you're doing, let's say I wanted to change the margins on this. An easy way you can do this is to simply just go and change what the layout is. So if we go up to the layout group here on our, or the layout tab on the ribbon here, you'll see we have the margins section here in our page setup group. If I click this here, now I have these different pre-formatted margins or page layout settings, and I can change it based on the measurements that are given here. If we were going to wanted to go to a wider view, if I click on the wide here, we'll see that my top and bottom margin is going to stay the same. It's going to be at a 1-inch margin, which is pretty standard. And then I'm going to move my left and right margins in another inch, so they will be at 2 inches from the edge. So if we click that, you will see the adjustments get made. You'll see everything is brought in, and I am now at 2 inches of white space to the left and right of the body of my document. So if I were doing like a memo, this would be a standard look. But I'm going to go ahead and take it back to what it was, and just to show how we're using all of the tools we've worked on so far in our Word lessons. So I'm just going to use the undo button here on the quick access toolbar, and that will take it back to my 1-inch settings, my standard settings. Now, when I talk about creating the letterhead, that part that's going to stand out at the top of your document. A standard practice in an organization is to create a letterhead and then save that as for a template so that you can reuse that over and over. So let's insert a shape as we're making our banner or our letterhead. So if I want to go up here, I can go to the Insert tab here on the ribbon. And then I can insert shapes, I can insert pictures, online pictures, something we've done before. But let's say I wanted to put I don't know, let's say in my, up here, I'm going to hit the enter key, and I go up in this white space here, and I want to do I could do a shape, and let's say I'm going to use a ribbon here. I'll do the down ribbon, and I can place this wherever I need to, and I just draw it out with my crosshair of how big or small I want it to look like. And you can see here I can float on or above the text. You can always change that position by right-clicking on it. Wrap text, I can put it behind or in front of the text, whatever I want to do, so that I can move it around as necessary. And if I want to add some text here while I've right-clicked on it, or I can double-click in it, I just go down here to add text, and let's just put, I don't know, we'll say Microsoft Word Training Corp. And now I've got my letterhead, which this is not a standard letterhead. This is just showing you how to insert a shape and making a change. If I wanted to save this, I could go in and save my file, go to the backstage view, save it as, and I could save this as my standard template. I could call it the reference page template. And that way, anytime someone needs to use it, that's what this can be used for. Let's say we wanted to change this up a little bit so we can have an image on each side of that. So if I click this to make it active, I have my handles here that I can grab with the mouse and pull in. And let's say we're just going to shorten this up a little bit. And let's go, and this is already centered. I want to now insert an online picture. So I'll go into my illustrations group on my insert tab. And this, because it's a Microsoft product, it's using the Bing search criteria. So let's just put Microsoft Word And let's see what we have that's showing the Creative Commons, which means we can use that. So when we get some results here, we'll have all of these images we can scroll through to see which one we want to use. So you're going to give that a time, you'll find the ones you want, and then you can select that to insert that in. Mine's acting a little slow here, but this little 3 dots here, if you want to see that, you can click on this, and this is the link of where that image is being stored. So if you click on that, it will take you to the logo. So I like this one. I'm going to use this one. So all I need to do is simply check it, hit insert, and then it will get inserted. Now I can change the size of this as much as I want so that I can make that more applicable to what I'm wanting to do. So I can right click on this, and I want to put this in front of text so I can move it around. I'm going to put it up here, make the sizing a little bit better. I can copy that by Control C, or I can right click on it, go to home, whatever I want to do, and then paste that. It's the same size and shape, and of course I need to go to wrap text, put that in front of text again, and now I can move it up here and get that aligned with the other one. Obviously this one isn't to scale. You can see I've actually gone over here a little bit, but you can click on, you can use your arrows on your keyboard as well. So I can get that within my margins. And now I've created my letterhead. Now if you put an image into the body of your work, you can move it around and change the positions of that object as well. Let's just say right here we want to put something as well. We could insert by going to the Insert tab again. Let's just say we bring in a shape, and we'll just put, I don't know, we'll just select one. We'll put this here. We'll put our 7-point star, or we can just put an actual star. I'm going to put that right here. And let's say I want to make that bigger. Well, that just looks ugly. But we can reposition this or change that position. And we would just go up to our Arrange group here on our Drawing Tools Format tab, and we can drop the position arrow down, and you can see what it looks like in different locations. Now you can just scroll around and see what you're actually wanting to do. And let's just say we like it over here at the left, then we can do that. If we wanted to move that around, let's say we want to put that to the middle right and wrap the text that's next to it, we can do that. And we don't have to go and move anything around. Word is going to automatically do that for us. So if you're creating some type of brochure or some other document, this is going to help you a lot in the visual aesthetics. Now let's take a look at our letterhead again, and maybe we don't really like this. We may want to go a little bit larger on our image. We can click on these, go up to our Format tab that comes up with that, and you can adjust the size using the size group here on our Format tab, and we can adjust this right away using the arrows, or we can click in here and increase that. Maybe we want a 1-inch height and width. We can do that. You can pop out the dialog box here. You can do it that way as well. So you have lots of options. You could rotate this if you wanted. So if we wanted to give it a little bit different flair, we could rotate it by the rotate area here, the rotate section. We could change that. Let's say we want to do a 45-degree change, and now it's changed. So we could give a much different look, or we can just grab the rotation handle and we could change it that way as well. But working with our percentages, make sure that we're not off at all and that we have balance. So I want to undo these, but let's say I want to change this to a 1-inch. I can simply click in here and just do 1, hit enter. I could go here to this one, make it a 1-inch as well. Now I can make changes here if I wanted. I can see that I'm no longer centered, so I can drag that in a little bit, or if I like the looks of it, kind of my own little style on this. then I can do that. I can drag this down. I've got a whole new look to my banner or my letterhead. And then aesthetically, I should come down here and maybe make some changes so that when it's printed or when it's sent and open, everything looks much better. So that is just resizing our graphic based on a percentage or measurement of our original sized inserted object. There are lots of features here on our format tab. If I don't like this shade of blue, I can always go back in and change that. I'll go to my format group and I can see I have shape styles. I have the shape fill. If I want to change colors, there we go. There's lots of different things we can do. Let's say I want to go a little bit lighter on the blue. Then I can do that. Or maybe if my organization has certain colors, I want to stick to that because we want to match our logo. Another way, as we can move around with our graphics, or maybe we want to flip a graphic, we can simply select our graphic and then we can rotate that object. If we go up to our format group, we'll see that we can go up here to our range group again on our format tab, select rotate, and I can make different changes there, and I can see what it's going to look like based on hovering over. But you can see here it brings up the layout dialog box as well, and I can make those changes down here again. So there's lots of ways with almost everything that we do in the Microsoft Office suite that we can do in several different ways, several different styles, different shortcuts. But just know that you can rotate and customize your graphics. Now here I want to show how we can put the date. You can see here I've got date put in here, but let's say I want to put the current date. So rather than putting date here, what I can do is I can go up and insert the date and time. We have a button for that to display the date and time dialog box, and then we can select whichever format we want to use. So if we go to our insert tab here on the ribbon, we click that, then you'll see over here on the far right in the text group we have a date and time object. If we select that, we can say okay, we want the date or just date and time, whichever we want, and we can select which format we want to use. And for a letter, I don't really want the time, so I can say, you know what, I like this format because that's pretty standard. Or if I like one of the others, I can click on them, but I really like this one. It makes it simple. There's no, someone could get confused maybe, or they just don't like 19th of June 2019, but a very standard format is using the month, the day, and then the 4 spots for the year. So if I hit OK, it automatically gets inserted for me. I don't have to type it, and it's there. And if it's part of your template, that would be great. But we can also click the box to update automatically. So we have that option. But we have our date in here. That's great. Let's go ahead and take a look at another feature. And that would be the building block feature. If you go up to your insert tab and you go here to your text group, we have these quick parts. And we can use quick parts to format some features we want to use all the time. Let's say we want to create the name of our company here, and we'll use this Microsoft Word Training Corp. That's the name of our company. Let's say we want to not have to type this all the time, so we can select that, go up here to quick parts, and we can then create that as a quick part so that we don't have to go back and type that in all the time. We were going to make this our, let's say our company name. Then we can create that. So we'll save this, and we're going to name this as, our company name, or whatever you want to give it, put it in whatever category you want to put it, so that we can reference this whenever we need to add it. So let's just give this one a company name, and I'll hit OK. We'll hit enter here. So because that is a saved part, a quick part. If I go up here to quick parts, drop down, well, there's company name, and I can enter it right away. Saves me a lot of time from typing because I saved it. So if you do like the address for organization, let's see you have 5 customers, you put them in there. You don't have to put their information in all the time if you're using a template like this. And let's say our company changes from a corp to an LLC. Maybe whoever is doing the data entry did it wrong, so it's actually an LLC. Well, if we wanted to change that in our quick part, we could go to quick part, find it, and then we could look for it in other ways. But if let's just use this one since we've already got it here, I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to edit the properties. I can now go and make changes to that, or I can just delete it and get rid of it, put a new one in. Lots of things we can do. So probably just create a new one, just because that would be much simpler, especially if you're working with a big change like an address or something like that. Now sometimes we need to add a table, like you saw in my other example of where I had different dates set for different training. Let's take a quick look at that. You can see here, this is just a table, and if I click up here, you can see that now I have the table tools, the design, and the layout options up here, so that if I wanted to make changes, I can. Now if we were going to start from scratch, we can do that real quick. We'll stick in this document here, and let's just say we're going to create a table down here. We'll hit the enter key a couple times, and I'm just going to insert table. I'm going to drop this down here. You notice that is its own group here in the insert. And I have different options. I can draw my table essentially by just dragging my mouse over the size I want it to be, and you can see it gets created for me. I could also go down and I could draw a table, which I can use my mouse to go over and just say this is how far I want it to be, how big, and I want this many columns and this many rows. So if I want to put some rows here, I'm just going to draw an arrow, and it's going to do it for me. If I want to draw now that I have my columns, I want to say, okay, I want this to be my row for my column headings. Now I want a row down here for whatever data, and I can put some more rows, and you can see I can do partials if needed. If I've got a large area that needs to be filled in, I can draw it. Let's say I don't like what I did, so I can simply undo using the quick access toolbar. But I can also use my table button here to use quick tables. So let's say I wanted to put a calendar in. I could select calendar, and there's my calendar, and I can make my adjustments as needed. Or if I wanted to simply insert table, and then I'm going to get a dialog box that says, well, how many columns and how many rows do you want this to be? And I can say also I want it to adjust to the width of the window, fit to the window, or I just say have set column widths. So let's say 5 columns, let's just take that down to 3 like we had before, and we'll put in 5 rows. I hit OK, and my table gets drawn for me. And now I can put data in by simply clicking in a cell and then just putting data. Another way, rather than just clicking and to whatever cells, let's say I put in heading here. To get to the next cell in the same row, I can just simply hit the tab button, and that will take me into that next column. And I can put heading 2. So we can simply navigate with our arrow keys as seen here, or I can use my mouse, or I can use the tab or even shift tab to go one cell back. And then of course, like we've seen before, there are different styles that we can apply. So here you can see I really don't have a style applied. I can go up here into my table styles group here on my design tab. I can drop this down to see the available ones, and once you hover over it, you can see the different applications or how this applies to your document. I like this one here, so I'm going to stick with this one. You can see my header row has a darker background, and I've got alternating colors for my rows in my table. So we want to make that aesthetically pleasing, and you can see here I stuck with the blue theme throughout my document. Once that style is applied, you don't have to stay to it. You can go back up and change that style at any time. Just simply click on the table and then go up and make your changes. And see, I've selected a section here, that's why you didn't see the changes. So when I select it, I always click on the table button here so that the whole table is then selected. So that's a little bit about inserting tables and modifying your appearance. So you can customize almost anything here in using the Microsoft Office Suite tools. Another thing that's nice is, let's say you see this is uniform in the width of these columns. You can change that. Let's say I know heading 1 is only going to have a prefix, so it's going to be very short. So I'm going to draw that over to the left by putting my fill handles in between the rows or the columns and then clicking and dragging. Same way with this one. Let's say this heading 2 is going to be my address field. I need more space. I can go between column B and C here and drag that over to the right, and now I've got a lot more area to work with. And the same thing with the rows. I can drag this down. You can see now row 1 is much larger than the following row. So you can customize these tables based on the width and the height of your columns and rows as well. So that's definitely something you will find yourself doing. And let's say we've got information here that we need to put that we really don't need 3 separate columns for. Well, we can make that a very easy change. If we go to our layout button here, or the tab, you will see that we can merge our cells as well. So let's say I select these 3 cells. Now my merge cells here in my merge group becomes active. Before it was grayed out. Well, now that I've got the cell selected, I can actually use this. So I'm going to click merge cells. Now if I go down here, you'll see that this is one simple column. So, or row, however you want to say it. We've merged these 3 into one. Maybe you can see a little bit better here on this one. If we do the same thing, we'll merge those cells. And you can see those separator lines have been taken away. So having this, and I can just put a title in here. Let's just say I'm going to stick with heading. Well, now I can make this look a lot better by selecting it and centering it so that it looks much better, so that my alignment of the text looks much more appealing. So if I go to home and I'm going to click center, and now it's centered in my table. So what does this do? It just makes it look much more appealing to our audience, or whoever our intended reader is. So in the whole communication process, you have the sender, the message, and the receiver. Well, if the receiver doesn't understand the message that's being sent from the sender, then our communication path has not flowed as we intended. So that's why we make things more aesthetically appealing, as well as making sense of the content. Now let's talk about our labels and addresses. Let's say we have an address up here. We're going to put, I don't know, we'll just do away with address here, and we'll put in 123 Anywhere Street. Someplace in Indiana 47123. Now we have an address. So if we want to be able to print envelopes for this place or mailing labels, we can do that very easily by using the Mailings tab here on our ribbon. And you see we have in our Create group, we can create envelopes or we can create labels. We create envelope. You'll see you click on that, and then the dialog box will pop up that shows, hey, I need the information, or I detected the information. So if I hit cancel here, let's say I highlight this address. Now I'm going to select envelope. Now it picks it up. Okay, I didn't need the your address part. Or this, I selected way too much. So I've got Anywhere Street, and I was just terrible at selecting the information. No, I did select it. So if we just hit envelope again, we can put it in here. Mine was a bad example, obviously, but it does detect, hey, I think this is the address, and if not, you can add it. and I'm going to enter my information someplace, Indiana 47123. Now I can simply print, and that will go to the printer that I have selected as my default printer, or I can make those changes with the print dialog box. But that will put the delivery address on there. If I want a return address, I can simply put that on there. I've got 500 envelopes that are loaded in the printer, and I can simply do that. So make sure that you realize you can save yourself a lot of time. And if we want to do labels, same thing. I just need to select what label I'm going to be using so that we have the correct label for whatever label stock we have that's in our printer. So it doesn't matter which of these you create, you'll get the same envelopes and labels dialog box. There are lots of labels out there you can go buy, and in your print options you can make those changes to say, okay, well, this is the label I have. So make sure that, and let's say we've got an Avery label. If I go down here and I select Avery, and I'll select Avery A4, and I've got all these different product numbers that'll be on the package of when you buy your labels. So let's say I'm just going to pick a random one. 2571 says, okay, this is for a 8 by 8.27 inch by 11.69 inch paper, and that's what it's going to print to. It's going to know where to print those. So if I selected a different one, L whatever, you see here's the page size, here's what that's going to look like. So there are a ton. Or if you've got a new one, you can create your own. But just pay attention to what it says on the package you buy about what the dimensions are or what number it is, so that you can put that in when you select it. That way when you go to print, everything's going to be exactly where it needs to be. Because if you've got a sheet that has 20 labels on it and you're creating a label, then you want to make sure that all 20 of those labels have the exact same information, the exact same format, so that you can just peel and put on whatever item, whether it's a box, an envelope, whatever the case may be. And that's this lesson on using Microsoft Word to do some of those business functions, such as creating labels, letterheads, business letters as a whole, and what all is needed there. So hopefully you can see that Microsoft Word saves you a ton of time, and it can take a lot of the work away from you. I hope you found this lesson helpful and you continue to follow along. Good luck as you continue to navigate around and learn all that you can in the word processing software that Microsoft Office gives us, known as Microsoft Word. Thank you.